The hyperspace jump should have been routine. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the swirling blue energy outside the viewports. His crew had made this same patrol route dozens of times before without any problems. The newest human warship cut through dimensions like a knife through water. Its experimental quantum drives humming with perfect efficiency. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at her console monitoring the ship's artificial intelligence systems. The readings looked normal until suddenly they didn't. Red warning lights flashed across her screen as the AI began reporting impossible energy spikes throughout the ship's core systems. She called out to the captain, but her words were lost in the sudden screaming of alarms that filled the bridge. The ship lurched violently to one side. Morrison grabbed his command chair as the artificial gravity failed for several terrifying seconds. Around him, his crew fought to stay at their stations while sparks flew from overloaded circuits and the lights flickered between normal and emergency power. The hyperspace window outside began to twist and bend in ways that hurt to look at. Commander Lisa Barnes shouted over the noise from her tactical station. The weapons systems were going crazy, showing power levels that shouldn't be possible with their current reactor output. Chief Engineer Ryan Clark's voice came through the comm system from deep in the ship's engine room. The quantum drives were resonating with something external, something that wasn't supposed to exist in hyperspace. Morrison had commanded ships for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The hyperspace tunnel around them began to collapse and reform, creating geometric patterns that seemed to fold in on themselves. The ship's sensors couldn't make sense of what they were detecting. Space itself appeared to be breaking apart and rebuilding around them. Amy Rodriguez watched her AI system struggle to process the incoming data. The artificial intelligence that normally handled navigation and basic ship functions was reporting readings that violated known physics. Energy signatures that couldn't exist were appearing on sensors that had been designed by humanity's best scientists. The ship was traveling faster than light, but somehow also moving through normal space. At the same time, the Defiance suddenly dropped out of hyperspace with a violent shudder that threw everyone against their restraints. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows as the crew worked to bring their systems back online. Morrison looked at the main view screen and felt his heart stop. Instead of the empty space they expected to find, they were surrounded by massive structures that stretched as far as their sensors could reach. Ancient monuments floated in the darkness around them, each one larger than Earth's moon. They were made of materials that human science couldn't identify, shaped in ways that seemed to defy gravity and physics. Some appeared to be solid metal while others looked like they were made of crystallized light. All of them pulsed with a soft energy that made the ship's hull vibrate like a tuning fork. Lisa Barnes ran every scan she could think of while trying to understand what they were seeing. Her tactical systems identified the structures as artificial, but couldn't determine their purpose or origin. The energy readings coming from the monuments were unlike anything in human databases. Whatever civilization had built these things possessed technology that made humanity's best efforts look like stone tools. Ryan Clark emerged from the engine room with a confused expression on his face. The ship's quantum drives were not only functional, but somehow operating at efficiency levels that should have been impossible. The strange energy field surrounding them was feeding power directly into their systems. Their weapons were charged beyond normal capacity, and their shields were stronger than they had ever been before. Amy Rodriguez finally managed to get a clear sensor reading of their location. What she found made no sense at all. According to their navigation systems, they were in a region of space that every star chart marked as completely empty. There should have been nothing here except vacuum and distant stars. Instead, they had found what appeared to be a massive graveyard of alien civilizations. Morrison walked to the front of the bridge and stared out at the ancient monuments. Each one was different, clearly built by different species with different technologies and different purposes. Some looked like they might have been ships once. Others resembled buildings or temples. All of them felt old, older than human civilization, older than the solar system itself. The ship's long-range sensors began picking up new contacts. Automated monitoring stations hidden among the monuments were coming online, their signals reaching out across space to unknown destinations. Morrison realized with growing dread that their arrival had triggered some kind of alert system. Somewhere out in the galaxy, someone or something now knew that humans had arrived in this forbidden place. Lisa Barnes confirmed his fears when she detected the first response signals. Multiple transmission beams were converging on their location from different directions, all of them using technologies that human science couldn't understand. The messages were clearly warnings or alerts, broadcast on frequencies that suggested advanced civilizations with galaxy-spanning communication networks. Amy Rodriguez worked frantically to decode the alien signals while her AI system struggled to make sense of the data patterns. What little she could translate suggested that they had entered some kind of protected space, a region that was considered sacred by multiple alien species. The monuments around them weren't just ancient ruins. They were memorials to civilizations that had fallen long ago. Morrison made the decision to remain in place while they gathered more information. Moving might trigger additional defensive systems, and they still didn't understand how they had arrived here in the first place. The quantum drives were stable but showed no signs of being able to recreate their accidental dimensional breach. They were trapped in alien space with no way home and no idea what was coming for them. The bridge crew worked in tense silence as they tried to understand their situation. The ancient technology around them continued to pulse with mysterious energy, while automated systems throughout the monument field awakened after centuries or millennia of dormancy. Whatever this place was, it had been waiting for something to arrive. Now that something was a human warship full of confused and frightened people who had stumbled into the galaxy's greatest secret. Morrison looked at his crew and saw his own uncertainty reflected in their faces. They had trained for first contact scenarios but never imagined it would happen like this. Somewhere beyond the monument field, alien civilizations were mobilizing their fleets and heading toward the humans who had violated the most sacred space in the galaxy. 3 days passed before the first alien ship arrived at the edge of the monument field. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the elegant vessel approach through the ancient structures with careful precision. The ship looked like it was made of flowing silver metal that shifted and changed shape as it moved through space. Nothing in human experience had prepared them for seeing technology that seemed more like living art than engineering. Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips had spent those 3 days preparing for this moment. As the ship's diplomatic officer, she had studied every scrap of information they could gather about the alien signals they had intercepted. The artificial intelligence systems run by Amy Rodriguez had managed to decode basic mathematical concepts from the transmissions, giving them a starting point for communication attempts. The alien vessel transmitted a greeting using simple mathematical sequences that any spacefaring civilization would understand. Phillips responded with similar patterns, establishing that both sides could recognize intelligence in each other. The process was slow and careful, with each side testing the other's ability to comprehend increasingly complex concepts. Through pure mathematics and basic physics, Morrison felt the weight of history pressing down on him as he realized they were conducting humanity's first formal contact with an alien civilization. Every decision he made would affect how the galaxy saw his species for generations to come. The responsibility was overwhelming, but he knew his crew was depending on his leadership to get them through this situation safely. The alien ship requested permission to come alongside the Defiance for a direct meeting between representatives. Phillips advised caution, but Morrison knew they had little choice in the matter. They were alone in alien space with no way to call for backup and no understanding of the political situation they had stumbled into. Cooperation seemed like their only chance for survival. Dr. Sam Torres worked with his medical team to prepare for possible biological hazards during the alien encounter. Human immune systems had no experience with extraterrestrial diseases, and they had no idea what kind of atmosphere or environmental conditions the aliens might require. The medical bay was converted into an isolation facility in case emergency treatment became necessary. Chief Engineer Ryan Clark reported that the ship's systems were still operating at enhanced efficiency thanks to the strange energy field surrounding the monument area. Their weapons were charged beyond normal capacity, and their shields were stronger than anything they had achieved during testing. Whatever technology surrounded them was clearly designed to work with spacefaring vessels, though its original purpose remained a mystery. The alien diplomat identified itself as Ambassador Veltar of the Trilarian Confederation. Through painstaking translation efforts, they learned that the Trilarians were known throughout the galaxy for their skills in diplomacy and peaceful conflict resolution. The ambassador had been sent specifically because of their experience in dealing with unknown species and potentially dangerous situations. Phillips conducted the formal meeting in the Defiance's main conference room with Morrison and key staff members present. Ambassador Veltar appeared to be humanoid but with pale blue skin and large dark eyes that seemed to take in every detail of their surroundings. The alien wore flowing robes that shimmered with their own internal light and spoke through a translation device that converted their thoughts into understandable human language. The ambassador's first questions centered on how humans had managed to penetrate the energy barrier that protected the sacred space. When Phillips explained their accidental arrival through a hyperspace malfunction, Veltar's expression showed clear disbelief. No known technology could breach the ancient defenses that surrounded the monument field, and certainly not by accident. Amy Rodriguez presented their sensor data and navigation logs to prove their story. The artificial intelligence systems had recorded everything that happened during their dimensional breach, providing evidence that supported the human account of events. Ambassador Veltar studied the data with growing amazement, clearly struggling to understand how such an accident could be possible. The conversation took a dramatic turn when Phillips asked about the monuments and their significance to galactic civilization. Veltar explained that the structures were memorials to dozens of extinct civilizations, species that had once ruled vast empires before disappearing from the galaxy forever. The area was considered the most sacred space in known civilization, protected by technology that no living species understood or could replicate. Dr. Torres shared basic biological information about humans to help establish trust with their alien contact. The medical data revealed aspects of human physiology that clearly surprised Ambassador Veltar. Human neural structure was apparently unique among known species, allowing for rapid learning and adaptation that typically took other civilizations centuries to achieve. Sergeant Maria Santos demonstrated human linguistic abilities by learning basic Trilarian pronunciation within hours of hearing their language. Ambassador Veltar was visibly shaken by this display of adaptability, explaining that most species required years or decades to master even simple communication with aliens. The speed of human learning appeared to violate established principles of evolutionary development. The meeting continued for several hours as both sides shared information about their respective civilizations. Phillips learned that the galaxy was home to dozens of intelligent species, organized into various confederations, empires, and republics. Most had achieved spaceflight thousands of years before humans had even developed agriculture, yet none had ever managed to enter the sacred monument field. Ambassador Veltar's reports back to the Trilarian government caused immediate concern throughout galactic civilization. The speed of human adaptation and their apparent ability to interface with ancient technology suggested capabilities that challenged the established order. Many species had spent millennia trying to understand the monument field's defenses without success. Morrison sensed the growing tension as more alien vessels began arriving at the barrier's edge. Long-range sensors detected ships from multiple civilizations, all apparently drawn by news of the human presence in forbidden space. The diplomatic situation was rapidly becoming a military standoff, with his small crew caught in the middle. The conference ended when Ambassador Veltar received urgent communications from the Galactic Council demanding immediate action regarding the human situation. Phillips could see the conflict in the alien diplomats' expression as they struggled between their natural inclination toward peaceful resolution and the pressure from their government to treat humans as a potential threat. As the Trilarian ship prepared to depart, Veltar warned Morrison that the galaxy's major powers were mobilizing their fleets in response to the human breakthrough. The captain realized that their accidental discovery had triggered a crisis that could determine humanity's place in galactic civilization. They were no longer just lost explorers trying to find their way home. They had become the center of a political storm that threatened to engulf the entire galaxy. The alien fleets began arriving 1 week after Ambassador Veltar's departure from the monument field. Captain Jake Morrison watched through the Defiance's viewports as massive warships took positions along the energy barrier that surrounded the sacred space. Each fleet represented a different alien civilization, and their ships looked nothing like human designs or each other. The Valorian Empire sent their 7th battle fleet under the command of Admiral Zeth Kara whose reputation for military excellence was known throughout the galaxy. Their ships were dark, angular vessels that bristled with weapon systems and moved through space like predatory animals hunting for prey. Long-range sensors counted over 200 Valorian warships taking defensive positions around the barrier. Lieutenant Ben Carter worked at his tactical analysis station trying to understand the alien military formations. The Valorian ships used energy signatures that human technology couldn't fully identify, but their aggressive positioning made their intentions clear. These were not diplomatic vessels come to negotiate peaceful contact with a new species. The hegemony of crystal worlds sent their psychic warrior fleets in ships that looked like they were grown rather than built. The crystalline vessels pulsed with internal light and moved in perfect synchronization, as if controlled by a single mind. Commander Nicole Price reported that their navigation systems couldn't get stable sensor readings on the crystal ships, as if they existed partially outside normal space. Amy Rodriguez struggled to understand how the alien fleets were communicating with each other. Her artificial intelligence systems detected dozens of different transmission methods, including some that used quantum entanglement and others that seemed to operate through dimensional manipulation. The level of coordination between the different species suggested they had worked together many times before. The Ancient Republic contributed the oldest ships in the Galactic Fleet, vessels that had maintained peace throughout known space for thousands of years. Their ancient hulls were covered with symbols and decorations that spoke of countless battles and diplomatic missions. These ships had seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations and their crews, possessed experience that spanned millennia. Morrison called his senior staff together to discuss their increasingly desperate situation. The alien fleets were clearly preparing for military action, and the Defiance was vastly outnumbered by enemies they didn't understand. Chief Engineer Ryan Clark reported that their enhanced weapon systems might be able to take on small groups of alien ships, but facing the combined might of galactic civilization was hopeless. Dr. Torres had made an important discovery while studying the ancient monuments around them. His medical scanners had detected organic compounds within some of the structures, suggesting that they weren't just memorials but actual remains of extinct civilizations. The monuments were more like tombs than museums, containing the last traces of species that had vanished from the galaxy long ago. The doctor's research team had also found something disturbing in the energy patterns coming from the monuments. The ancient technology wasn't just decorative or ceremonial. It was designed for defense and warfare on a scale that dwarfed anything in the current galaxy. Whatever had built these structures possessed weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Lieutenant Danny Brooks worked in the ship's intelligence section, trying to decode more of the alien transmissions they had intercepted. His translation programs had identified repeated references to something called the Great Silence, a period in galactic history when multiple advanced civilizations had suddenly disappeared without explanation. The monuments around them appeared to be connected to that ancient mystery. The first probing attacks came from Valorian scout ships testing the energy barrier's defenses. Morrison watched the alien vessels approach the barrier at high speed, only to be instantly vaporized by defensive systems that activated automatically. The barrier didn't just repel attackers, it completely destroyed anything that tried to force entry without proper authorization. Admiral Zethkara's response to losing scout ships was to order concentrated bombardment of the barrier, using the heaviest weapons in the Valorian arsenal. The energy beams and projectiles that could shatter planets simply disappeared when they hit the ancient defenses. The barrier absorbed every attack without showing any signs of weakness or damage. Lisa Barnes monitored the alien communications as frustration grew throughout the combined fleets. The military commanders had expected to overwhelm primitive human defenses and remove the intruders quickly. Instead, they found themselves facing technology that made their most advanced weapons look like toys in comparison. The situation became more complex when some of the ancient monuments began responding to the alien attacks. Defensive systems that had been dormant for thousands of years started coming online, creating energy patterns that reached far beyond the barrier itself. Long-range sensors detected similar responses from monument fields in other parts of the galaxy. Ryan Clark made a breakthrough discovery when he realized that the enhanced efficiency of their ship systems wasn't random. The ancient technology was specifically designed to work with human neural patterns and technological approaches. Their quantum drives resonated with the monument field because human engineering philosophy was somehow compatible with the extinct civilization's methods. Amy Rodriguez confirmed this theory when her artificial intelligence systems successfully interfaced with some of the monument control networks. The AI could access ancient databases that contained information about galactic history going back millions of years. What they found there would change everything they thought they knew about the current political situation. The ancient records revealed that the monument field wasn't just a memorial to extinct civilizations. It was a warning system and quarantine zone. The species that had built the defenses were trying to contain something terrible that had consumed entire regions of space. The Great Silence wasn't a mysterious disappearance. It was a desperate last stand against an invasion from outside normal space. Morrison realized with growing horror that the alien fleets surrounding them weren't just trying to remove human intruders from sacred space. They were unknowingly preparing to destroy the only defense system that could protect the galaxy from a threat that had already destroyed the previous galactic civilization. The monuments weren't tombs. They were weapons pointed at an enemy that was still out there waiting to return. The intelligence reports became more urgent as long-range sensors began detecting anomalous readings at the galaxy's outer edge. Energy signatures that matched the ancient warning systems were appearing in empty space where nothing should exist. Whatever the extinct civilizations had been fighting was coming back, and only the humans had the ability to operate the defenses that could stop it. The combined alien fleet commanders agreed to meet aboard a neutral station positioned just outside the energy barrier. Admiral Zeth Kara of the Valorian Empire arrived with a full military escort, his scarred face showing the anger of a warrior who had never encountered an enemy he couldn't defeat. The ancient republic sent Commander Thys, whose pale features reflected centuries of diplomatic experience and hard-won wisdom about galactic politics. Captain Jake Morrison knew this meeting would determine whether humanity survived its first encounter with galactic civilization, or became another extinct species memorialized in the monument field. Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips prepared extensive briefing materials about their discoveries, while Dr. Sam Torres gathered all the medical and scientific data they had collected about the ancient technology. The neutral station's main conference chamber was a marvel of alien engineering designed to accommodate different atmospheric and gravitational requirements. Morrison felt the weight of representing his entire species as he took his place at the circular table surrounded by beings whose civilizations had ruled the stars for thousands of years before humans had learned to make fire. Phillips began their presentation by sharing the translated records they had discovered in the ancient monument databases. The extinct civilizations had left detailed warnings about an extra-dimensional invasion that had consumed entire star systems before they managed to establish the quarantine barriers. The monument field wasn't a graveyard, it was a fortress designed to hold back enemies that existed outside normal space and time. Admiral Zeth Kara dismissed the human claims as desperate lies intended to avoid punishment for violating sacred space. His military advisors had analyzed human technology and found it primitive compared to current galactic standards. The idea that such a young species could unlock secrets that had eluded advanced civilizations for millennia seemed impossible to accept. Commander Thys studied the ancient records with growing concern. The ancient republic's historical databases contained references to the Great Silence that matched the human translations perfectly. Entire sectors of space had simply vanished from galactic maps during that period, with no explanation ever found for what had happened to the civilizations that lived there. Dr. Torres presented his analysis of the monument structures and their defensive capabilities. The ancient technology operated on principles that human science was only beginning to understand, using dimensional manipulation and energy conversion, methods that could power weapons of unimaginable destruction. The monuments weren't just memorials, they were the control systems for galaxy-spanning defense networks. Amy Rodriguez demonstrated how human neural patterns interfaced with the ancient computer systems in ways that current galactic species couldn't replicate. Her artificial intelligence programs could access databases and control systems that had remained sealed for thousands of years. The compatibility wasn't accidental. It was designed by the extinct civilizations as a fail-safe activation method. The meeting was interrupted by urgent reports from long-range monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The anomalous energy readings at the galactic edge were intensifying and beginning to affect normal space in measurable ways. Several outer, rim colonies had reported strange phenomena, including time distortions and gravity fluctuations that defied known physics. Commander Theiss recognized the descriptions from ancient historical records about the early stages of the previous invasion. The extra-dimensional entities didn't attack directly. They gradually corrupted normal space until entire systems became uninhabitable. The process could take decades to complete, but once it began, nothing could stop it except the ancient defense networks. Morrison seized the opportunity to propose an alliance between humanity and the galactic powers. The humans could operate the ancient defenses while the alien fleets provided military support and technological resources. Working together, they might be able to prepare for the returning threat before it reached populated systems. Admiral Zeth Kara remained skeptical until his own intelligence officers confirmed that several Valorian outposts near the galactic edge had gone silent without explanation. The military reports described spatial anomalies that matched the ancient warnings exactly. Something was definitely approaching from outside the galaxy, and conventional weapons would be useless against it. Dr. Laura Green joined the discussion via communication link from the Defiance, where she had been studying the monument activation sequences. The ancient defense grid required specific authorization codes and neural patterns to become fully operational. Only beings with compatible brain structures could access the most powerful systems, and humans appeared to be the first species in galactic history with the necessary biological characteristics. The revelation that humanity might be the key to galactic survival changed the entire dynamic of the negotiations. Species that had been prepared to destroy the human intruders now realized they might need human cooperation to survive the coming crisis. The political implications were staggering, as it meant accepting a primitive species as equals in galactic civilization. Phillips worked to establish formal diplomatic protocols, while the various alien representatives contacted their home governments for new instructions. The situation had evolved far beyond a simple territorial dispute into a potential existential crisis for all galactic life. Every major power needed to reconsider their response to the human presence in the monument field. Ryan Clark reported from the Defiance that more ancient systems were coming online throughout the monument field. As the external threat grew stronger, the defensive network was preparing itself for battle even without direct human control, suggesting that the extinct civilizations had built automated responses into their technology. The preparations were impressive, but they would need conscious direction to be fully effective. The meeting concluded with a tentative agreement to establish joint research teams combining human neural interfacing abilities with alien technological expertise. Admiral Zeth Kara agreed to position his fleet as a defensive screen around the monument field while Commander Theiss arranged for ancient Republic scholars to assist with translating more of the extinct civilization's records. Morrison felt a mixture of relief and apprehension as the various alien representatives departed to implement their new cooperation agreements. Humanity had avoided immediate destruction, but they were now committed to defending a galaxy they barely understood against an enemy that had already destroyed the previous galactic civilization. The responsibility was overwhelming, but he knew his species had no choice but to rise to meet the challenge. The ancient defense grid continued to strengthen as more monuments activated throughout the galaxy. Long-range sensors detected similar energy signatures awakening in dozens of star systems, creating a network of defensive positions that spanned the entire galactic disk. Whatever was coming from beyond normal space would face defenses that had been designed specifically to stop it, if the current galactic powers could learn to work together in time. The extra-dimensional invasion began 6 weeks after the alliance was formed. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance watching long-range sensors track the systematic disappearance of entire star systems at the galaxy's outer edge. The enemy didn't destroy planets or stars. They simply removed them from normal space and time, leaving empty voids where thriving civilizations had existed moments before. Admiral Zeth Kara's combined fleet had grown to include ships from every major galactic power, creating the largest military force in recorded history. The Valorian battle cruisers worked alongside ancient Republic dreadnoughts and crystal hegemony psychic vessels, their crews learning to coordinate tactics despite fundamental differences in technology and military doctrine. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, coordinated the massive intelligence network that now connected human artificial intelligence systems with alien computer networks throughout the galaxy. Her AI programs interfaced with monitoring stations across dozens of star systems, providing real-time updates on the invasion's progress and the status of ancient defense systems coming online in response to the threat. The ancient monument field had transformed into the command center for galactic defense operations. Human technicians worked alongside alien engineers to understand and operate technology that had been designed by civilizations that vanished millennia. Co-Dr. Laura Green led teams of researchers who studied the extinct species records to learn their strategies for fighting extra-dimensional enemies. Commander Lisa Barnes found herself training alien tactical officers in human military doctrine while learning their own combat techniques in return. The exchange of knowledge created new approaches to warfare that combined the best aspects of multiple civilizations' fighting styles. Human adaptability proved invaluable in developing strategies that could counter an enemy unlike anything the galaxy had ever faced. The first major battle occurred at the Kepler defense line, where ancient Republic forces encountered the invasion's leading edge. The extra-dimensional entities appeared as shifting geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly, moving through space in ways that violated the basic laws of physics. Conventional weapons passed through them, harmlessly, while their mere presence began corrupting the fabric of normal space. Morrison watched the battle through the monument field's ancient sensor networks as alien ships were consumed by reality, distortions that turned their hulls inside out or scattered their atoms across multiple dimensions. The enemy didn't fight like any known species. They simply existed in ways that made normal matter and energy unstable in their vicinity. Dr. Sam Torres worked with medical teams from across the galaxy to develop treatments for exposure to extra-dimensional effects. The entity's influence caused biological systems to break down at the cellular level, creating injuries that conventional medicine couldn't heal. Only the ancient technology seemed capable of reversing the damage caused by contact with beings from outside normal space. The turning point came when Amy Rodriguez successfully interfaced with the master control systems for the entire galactic defense network. Her neural patterns synchronized with ancient AI systems that had been waiting for thousands of years for someone capable of operating them. The monuments throughout the galaxy responded to her commands, activating weapons that had been built to fight this specific enemy. The ancient defense grid fired its first coordinated salvo, using energy beams that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The weapons struck the extra-dimensional entities in ways they couldn't avoid or deflect, disrupting their ability to corrupt normal space and forcing them back into the void between realities. For the first time since the invasion began, the enemy retreated from populated systems. Chief Engineer Ryan Clark coordinated with alien technical specialists to maintain and enhance the ancient technology as it operated at full capacity. The power requirements were enormous, drawing energy from sources that current galactic science barely understood. The cooperation between human engineering, creativity, and alien technical expertise kept the defense network functioning despite the incredible stresses of interdimensional warfare. The combined galactic fleet learned to work with the ancient defenses, providing mobile support for the fixed monument installations, while the humans directed the overall defensive strategy. Admiral Zethkara commanded fleet operations with tactical advice from Morrison and his crew, creating a command structure that utilized the best capabilities of all participating species. Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips found herself serving as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, negotiating humanity's formal inclusion in galactic civilization while the war continued around them. The other species had initially resisted accepting such a young race as equals, but human performance during the crisis had proven their value beyond question. The final battle lasted for 3 days as the ancient defense network pushed the extra-dimensional invasion back beyond the galaxy's edge. The monuments focused their combined power into a barrier that sealed the dimensional rifts the entities had used to enter normal space. The energy expenditure was massive, requiring resources from across the galaxy to maintain the protective field. Morrison felt the weight of history as he realized they had not only survived humanity's first contact with galactic civilization but had become its saviors. The species that had initially seen humans as primitive intruders now looked to them as the guardians of ancient knowledge that protected all galactic life from extinction. The war ended when the last extra-dimensional entities were forced back into the void and the dimensional barriers stabilized. The galaxy was safe for now, but everyone understood that the enemy might return someday. The ancient defenses would need constant maintenance and improvement to remain effective against future threats. In the aftermath of victory, the Galactic Council formally recognized humanity as a founding member of the new Galactic Defense Alliance. Earth received a permanent seat on the ruling council, and human officers were integrated into command positions throughout the galactic military structure. The species that had accidentally stumbled into forbidden space had become the protectors of galactic civilization. Captain Morrison stood in the monument field looking out at construction crews from dozens of species, working together to build new research facilities and defense installations. The former forbidden space had become a symbol of cooperation between civilizations that had learned to work together despite their differences. Humanity had found its place among the stars not through conquest or dominance, but through the willingness to stand between the galaxy and the darkness that threatened to consume it. The ancient monument still pulsed with defensive energy, ready to activate again if needed. Somewhere in the void between dimensions, the extra-dimensional entities waited for another opportunity to invade normal space. But the galaxy was no longer defenseless, and humanity would be there to coordinate the defenses that protected all life from extinction.